Hey guys, welcome back to Crawl TV. And gosh, does it feel good to say that, because this really is a welcome back. I know it's been a long time, and I just got that first video uploaded with the 7 fun facts about me and Steph. And I just can't say thanks enough for all of your genuinely nice comments and understanding for the time that I needed to take off from this channel to kind of rebuild myself, where I'm at in life, and bring the channel back with a new direction. So thank you, genuinely thank you for all of that. Now this video is really exciting because this is video number 1 of our new build playlist called ROKBUGY. ROKBUGY is the name of the car we're building up at the Rockstar Garage in Murrieta, California. And thanks to the understanding of our friend Nick Ashby, this project has taken time off, it's taken turns, and there's a lot to cover from where this car started out stock to where it is now in the shop, with build plans to go to SEMA in 2022. So for the first few videos, I'm going to be letting you into my home office here. You're going to get an inside look at how I do this, because I am going to need to voice over and explain the process of how this car has morphed multiple times to become what it is now. So without further ado, let's get started, and welcome to ROKBUGY. So I have to take you guys back about a year into the past to explain how we first got this car, why we first got this car, and what our plans were with this car. Now in June, so almost exactly a year ago, in June of 2021, Steph and I found a 1970 Type 1 Volkswagen Beetle for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I think the car was listed for like $3,300, and it was a private seller up in Santa Ana who was a Volkswagen collector and builder, and this was just one of his cars that he didn't want anymore. Now, the reason that we picked this car as a project car is because Steph and I wanted to build this into a Class 11 race vehicle. Steph grew up racing in the off-road world. I grew up just as an off-road enthusiast in the off-road world, both of us here in Southern California. And after being King of the Hammers a couple times and seeing these Class 11s race, we thought there's no way that we cannot participate in this. So we went out after King of the Hammers 2021 and found ourselves a Volkswagen and bought it so that we could build a Class 11 race car, which is not what ended up happening, which is why I'm making this voiceover right now. But let's go back. It's June of 2021. We contact the seller up in Santa Ana, and we ask him what the condition of the car is, if it runs, if it drives, and if we need to bring a trailer. The guy says the car runs, but it needs work. It can drive, and you can test drive it around the block, and I would highly suggest bringing a trailer. So, of course, Steph and I loaded up the work truck and decided we're going to drive this thing all the way home. We're not bringing a trailer, which was a really bold move because Santa Ana is like 2 hours from where we live here in Ramona, California. So we loaded up the work truck with tools. We drove all the way up there, test drove this car around the block. It had 2 flat tires on it. We got the tires filled with Fix-A-Flat and inflated, and we jumped right on the 5 freeway and we headed all the way south. Our first stop was in this shot right here in Santa Ana, California, which is right off of the 5 freeway on kind of a coastal lookout where there's a ton of huge fat squirrels and seagulls. Now, as you can see in this video, this car was completely bone stock. But at this point, it was running really, really well. And I was so impressed that we had made it this far into the video with absolutely 0 issues whatsoever. After we left this rest stop, we made it all the way back to our house, once again with no problems. And the road up to our house is windy pavement and then it turns into windy dirt road. And this car handled all of it like an absolute champ. And this is a shot of it actually flying up our dirt road. So after we got home with this car, we decided, hey, you know what? It's summertime, it's Thursday. Our hometown has a hot rod classic car cruise night. Let's fire up the Volkswagen, drive it into town, and we'll take it to the cruise night. So Steph and I both got in the Volkswagen, and we were on our way into town with it, and it died. And we had to back it up and turn around and go back downhill and bump start it to get it going again. So when we took it to the car show, we had to leave it running the whole time, because at that point we realized that it had a failing alternator on it, and if we shut it off, we would not be able to start it again. So we went to this car show, we drove it up and down the main street of our town, and we left it running the whole time, and we made it all the way back home that night in the dark in this car that was not really suitable for the road. So it was really amazing that this car made it as far as it did. But as soon as it got home, it died and it never, ever, ever worked again. We lost a valve cover, we lost our oil pressure, we lost our oil, the alternator went out, the battery fried, the ignition system stopped working. This is a story all about how my valve cover fell off in the sand. Yeah. Luckily, I live in the middle of nowhere. It's not like I broke down in the middle of the road, but day 2, Volkswagen has decided to quit. Lost a valve cover, lost oil pressure, lost the go forward momentum. So I went and picked up a new battery for this thing. Battery's dead. New valve cover gasket, some new oil, and some gum out, because I think that the factory gas tank is pretty bad. But we're gonna try and get this baby up and running. But yeah, I think if this is any like foreshadowing to how Class 11 racing is gonna go, I am prepared, and the chase truck is just ready to rip. So we're gonna dive in. The points failed, the starter, like the locks, the cylinder where the key goes in failed. Everything started falling apart on this car as soon as we got back from this car show. So we were extremely fortunate that somehow we made it through all of this day without this car breaking down on us at any point. But once it was at our house again, that was it. It wasn't going anywhere that wasn't on a trailer. So it was at that point that our friend Nick came up here for a 4th of July barbecue, and we were shooting guns, and he said, hey, you should bring this car to my shop and you guys should film it in a climate controlled area where all of the tools that you need are at your disposal, and it'll be a much better environment to work on this car in. And we said, that is a great idea, Nick. So we threw this car in a trailer and we hauled it all the way up to Murrieta, California, to Nick's new shop, which was the Rockstar Performance Garage in Murrieta rather than his old shop in Lake Elsinore. And we got right to work tearing this car apart and stripping it down to the bare metal. We are building this car together.
Yeah, we're tearing her down, building her up.
Doing the whole shebang.
Whole shebang.
How do you feel about it?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Sweating. Excited.
We're already really hot, and we haven't taken a bolt off the car yet. It's so hot here. Today is day 1 here at the Rockstar Performance Garage. Steph and I are just getting acquainted with the new shop that Rockstar is setting up here in Murrieta. So the goal for this car is to get it all torn down today. To go over a few details on the bug first though, this is like I said, a 1970 Volkswagen Beetle, not to be confused with a Super Beetle. First sign it's not a Super Beetle is this hood right here. This W, you would say, I guess, is really tight and narrow, which gives you the first clue that this is not a Super Beetle. Second would be the tire underneath the trunk is upright. In a Super Beetle, the tire sits flat because they're a little bit longer sedans. The other way you can tell, but not always correct, is that the windshield on this car is flat, and a Super Beetle, some have rounded windshields. 71 and 72, I think, are exception years. The reason that we picked a 1970, though, aside from just being a complete car, we picked this car because it has the beam front end, because it's a Beetle, and the 1970 also comes with an IRS rear. IRS stands for independent rear suspension, so it actually has an independent setup rather than a swing axle setup. Once we get it a little bit more torn down, I will show you guys that. But when we bought the car, it was running, and well, long story short, now it doesn't run anymore. So hopefully by the end of the day, we will have this car stripped to the point where we can put pieces of it on pallets. It's got that good old-fashioned Volkswagen Beetle smell to it and everything. So let's jump right into it and get this thing torn apart. We are in the first hour of taking this car apart. It's actually going really well. There's not a lot to these things, so taking it apart really is the easy part. Our pile is growing here, and I've got the rear seat side panels out, the rear seat out, all of the seat belts removed, and Steph has taken both bumpers off and is cataloging all of our parts so that we have all of our screws kept in order. So over here she has sandwich bags that have labels on them. So you can see we've got our front and rear bumper brackets. We've got our tail lights. We've got our headlight bezels. Everything is staying somewhat organized. So when it's time to put this car back together, we're obviously not going to be using this original hardware, but we want to know what the thread pitch is, what the depth is, and we want to save ourselves as much trouble as possible so we know exactly what hardware to use from a new hardware bin to put it all together. And one of our next things that we're going to have to do is pull the front seats out. I've been wrestling them a little bit. I've already got the battery removed, the back seat is out, the seat belts are out. There's a bunch of dirty carpet, and since I've had Volkswagens before, I know that underneath that carpet there's a bunch of nasty old glue. Everything inside of these cars from the factory in the late 60s and 70s was glued in, so like super glued, like Gorilla glued in. Luckily, we're gonna be sending the body off to a sandblaster, so we don't have to deal with trying to remove that glue, but we do have to get everything up. And this is the most concerning part on any Volkswagen. Directly behind the passenger seat where the battery mounts is where the floor pans rust out. I haven't looked yet, but we'll see how much of that surface rust and how much actually is rusted through. If it's rusted through, we'll end up replacing the pans, which is, it's just extra work. Not a big deal. Now, if you didn't know, ripping a Volkswagen apart is extremely easy. Steph and I got to work on this car. I remember it being super hot that day in the shop, but we were on a roll, and it wasn't gonna slow us down that we were overheating or tired. We pulled the fenders off of this car, the lights, the seats came out, the carpeting came out. We started pulling the windows, the bumpers, we pulled the motor, the tar paper out of the inside of the doors, the door handles, mirrors, everything came out of this car, and nothing was hard. Like, nothing was very difficult to remove on this thing because it's such a simple vehicle. So stripping it down happened really quickly, and it was just an impressive amount of work for the amount of time that we had up in the shop that far. I mean, seats are out.
I don't know if there's supposed to be more bolts holding that thing together, but there wasn't very many.
Yeah, it'll have more bolts when it goes back together than it did coming apart. I think this car has definitely come apart before. The passenger side door is blue on the inside, and everything else on the car is yellow. So, oh, and the hardware that holds the window mechanism, totally different. So the door was replaced, and then the passenger side fender was blue.
And 2 different headlight harnesses.
Yes. So I'm guessing this car got into a passenger side accident in 1982.
Probably.
Yeah. We're throwing away all of the trash that came out of the car, which is headliner, door panels, old wiring, window seals, rust, dirty rat nests, rust, bugs, leaves, rust, wiring, yeah, I think we mentioned that, rust, the old steering wheel, whole bunch of stuff. And so
this is all the junk that is never going to be used again. It just goes away forever and helps populate a landfill. But there are some things that we're going to keep in this pile, like the side windows. We were able to cut them out without cracking them. The back window, we got it out without cracking. Same with the door windows. We did accidentally crack the windshield. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. But there's a lot of stuff that people that are not planning on racing Volkswagens probably want. There's a local guy actually to us in Ramona. The very first night that we had this car, we ran into him at a car show because naturally we wanted just one day of appreciating this classic car for what it is. So we took it to a car show and ran into another guy with a Volkswagen who was missing a back seat. So we're giving him our back seat because it's the Good Samaritan thing to do. The rest of this stuff will get separated between what we're going to keep and what we're going to just put on Facebook Marketplace to get rid of. We got all the nasty fluids out of the way, the brake fluid, the fuel, just a lot of rust. I don't know if I mentioned that. Tomorrow we will come back in. We'll pull the rear apron off the back end. We'll pull the motor, and then it's time to pull the whole body off of the pan. We will, you know, shop vac this up a little bit, see what that pan looks like. I have a feeling we're going to be replacing the pans on this car. The body will already be ready for sandblasting, so then we're just going to be working on the pan, jumping right into fabrication, and it'll give us a new list of parts. I mentioned earlier, I'm already running like Excel spreadsheets to track lead times on things, what we're ordering, what we need, but naturally as you go through this stuff, you're going to find things that you don't know about that you are going to want. So that is the end of day one, and I'm really, really stoked with the progress that we made. What do you think, Steph?
We did way more than I thought we could do in one day.
Really?
Yeah. Look at it, it's bare bones.
Bare bones.
You got a body and some wheels.
Yeah, gotta crack a couple eggs to make an omelet.
We're cracking eggs. And bringing home the bacon.
Oh, wow. Full breakfast. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up day one. We will see you tomorrow, which is Sunday, and we'll continue the progress on the bug.
So at this point, we were at the end of day one in the shop, and we were hot, we were dirty, we were tired. We'd found that the car was filled with rust holes. It had a rat nest in it. The interior was all super glued to the sheet metal, and we were uncovering all the problems, and we were done for the day. At this point, it was like 5 p.m. We were cleaning up the shop, and we decided to just call it quits and head back up there the next day. So day two will be the next video where we get the body and pan separated, get further into sheet metal replacement and repair. And remember, at this point, in our heads, we're still building this car for Class 11. So a lot of the things that we're doing, saving certain parts and preserving certain body panels, is because we planned on racing this as a stock bug before this became ROKBUGY. So that's where I'll end this video, is at this point, and then the next video, Steph will join me as we explain day two in the shop and all the work that we continue to do on this bug and body. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you joining me in my home office here, and I hope that this narration wasn't too hard to follow as I explained what I was doing a year ago on this project car. Obviously, it's much different now. And after these next couple videos, I cannot wait to share with you guys the current progress of this car. It looks nothing like it did in these videos. So please stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and follow along with this build. If you are subscribed, thank you very much. Please like the video, leave a comment. I will personally respond to you as soon as I can. And I will see you guys on the next video right here on Crawl TV.
Steph is sweating to death inside of this back window.